Hello everyone, welcome to Tech of the Day. Today we're going to discuss about Azure. Why should I use Azure? Everyone is talking about cloud. Let's go to cloud and let's switch to cloud. Let's take our services to cloud. Everyone, this is a buzzword. Why should I use Azure for my cloud services? Let's go. See you.
About me, I'm Nitesh Sharma, Senior Consultant at Deloitte, 6 years of experience in .NET. I'm trying to get some Azure certifications. You can find me on Twitter, NK Sharma IN, or you can reach out to me with my email address here. And today's agenda will be only about cloud and Microsoft Azure, compute services, data services, application services, and network services. What is cloud computing actually? Uh, it's really a big word. These days, it's a buzzword actually. Every big company use it as to attract their clients that we are in cloud, we are using cloud services. But what it is exactly? Why do we need cloud? Why should I move my existing applications to cloud? Of course, it has many advantages. We will talk about them later, but first let's understand what is cloud. Cloud is simply we are sharing uh, resources, responsibilities, and expenditure. And also, if we are in like PaaS or SaaS, we don't even have a capital expenditure in the beginning. So it's a very convenient. It's very convenient for startups, even for big companies as well, who just have some new ideas and just want to go as soon as possible. We'll talk about these advantages, but in simple words, cloud is simply sharing resources, responsibilities, and expenditures. So, cloud has three types of services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. Infrastructure as a service is simply a cloud provider is giving you infrastructure. That means you don't have to worry about underlying hardware, virtualization. You get on top of it, you get your own virtual machine, but you do have to worry about uh, operating system management, security, all those things. And then we have platform as a service. You have platform as a service. You just get your um, space in cloud without worrying about underlying architecture or operating system. So you don't worry um, uh, about updates in your operating system. You don't have to think about uh, restart of your system, anything. And then you have software as a service where you have to just configure it and use it. So you just consume it. Second advantage is Azure is worldwide. It's global. It's um, uh, it's spread over 55 regions worldwide and 140 countries. So you have your global reach, and this is just not only about having a global reach, but also you have uh, many other advantages like high availability, disaster recovery, scalability, other many other possibilities you can imagine actually. Third advantage will be pay only for what you use. There is no upfront cost. There is no need to buy upfront server licenses. Pay whatever you use per minute per hour, and you are billed on based on these uses per month. On top of that, you can also use your existing subscriptions. So bring your own license and you can deduct those prices Let's say if you have a Windows license, you can deduct this price when you go and select any virtual machine, and you can get something like 30% discount. So let's talk about these compute services. So the fourth advantage, um, whereas in traditional data center you have something like this. So you have underlying hardware which you buy it, then you have to worry about virtualization to create separate different virtual machines. Then you have to worry about operating system on top of it. And then you have to think about networking, security on it, and firewalls with that security. And then you have your data and your applications. But you are managing everything here. Whereas if you go to cloud, any provider, whereas Azure has its three concepts like this: virtual machines, containers, and serverless computing. So for virtual machine computing, you have your physical hardware provided by the Azure cloud provider, and on top of it you have host operating system, and top of it you have hypervisor controller which provides you interface to which provides you actually virtual machines. So cloud provider handles still here, and then it's your responsibility to add up your guest operating system and your application. So it will simply work like as your existing data center, but you don't worry about these three four things that you have to pay in advance, and you can stop whenever you want. So it's really huge advantage over having traditional data center on premises and having virtual machine on cloud, Azure cloud. Second is containers. So in if with virtual machines you have to use or manage your operating system, your guest OS. But with containers, you don't worry about operating systems as well. So you only think about containers, your application, your data, and its dependencies. So you just say, I'm having these dependencies and I am having this application, and then you can just simply uh, containerize it, send it over using any, like let's say Azure Kubernetes services or Docker, and it will take care of your dependencies. You don't know what operating system you are using, and you have your application separated. So it's really separated. You don't have to, and it takes care of your dependencies. So it's really good if you don't want control over the operating system, then containers are really good for you. Then you have serverless. In containers, you have to worry about dependencies, and this is also a little bit bigger. You have to also, if you have to worry about scalability, you have to worry about redundancy. But if you have small application which doesn't need um, which doesn't have many dependencies, so you don't care about dependencies, other things, your application is really modern, then you can simply use Azure Functions, which gives you serverless computing experience as serverless computing. Basically it's not serverless, but it is like you are not managing server, so it's like serverless. And you only pay for the time period you run your function, and then it is paused. Or let's say you have a function which calculates something, and after that it doesn't do anything, that means it is idle, and then it is not using any resources. So it's you are simply paying only for that time. So you focus on your application, and you don't worry about underlying architecture or underlying operating system or underlying any configuration thing. As we talked about virtual machines, so you can have multiple virtual machines, and then to connect each virtual machine, you will use virtual networks or network security providers. Network security groups, which configures the communication protocols between two virtual machines or two resources. And then you have we will create you can create a virtual machine in using sandbox when while you learn on Microsoft website, Azure website. You can find that in certifications, and I'll show you how you can create a sandbox and create virtual machine for free. Containers, then after virtual machine, if your application is not really dependent on the underlying system, then you can go with containers, because then if let's say if your application is not legacy application, that means if your application is not dependent on the operating system and some configuration, then you can go with containers and you have the same feeling as virtual machine. Data storage. Azure storage has four types of Azure storage. You have blob, table, files, and queues. File services can be easily used with virtual machines, and uh, file services can be shared by the easy to share actually. So if you want to share your files with multiple virtual machines, so you can have centralized file services which can be shared by any resource. So it's really good when you want to reuse some resources in other resources, and it's easy for REST interface. So it is also available using REST interface, high availability, scalability, and durability as for every service. So you have data storage services, which I'm only showing Azure SQL database, but I will show you later on other type of database services as well. HD Insight. There are other analytic services as well, but here you can 100% Apache Hadoop solution, Hadoop-based service, and it's backed by blob storage. Then you have content delivery network. So let's say you have an application which is a video streaming application, and you have users all over the world. So your data is centralized in Europe, but somebody is watching in US, and then your data can be using CDN. You can put your data uh, in cached your data in US, and it will be really good for the latency purposes. So you can have a nice experience with video applications then. Azure Active Directory can be really beneficial for um, managing identities in your organization. So you can easily manage your Office using Office 365 with Azure Active Directory and single sign-on. You can manage all the applications having the same identity and authentication. So you can easily manage authentication and authorization. So identity and role-based services, you can manage all of them. And for connecting with all the networks, so uh, you have virtual networks. So it supports you private address space and public address space. You can have on-site data center to connect it. You can use express route with the Azure virtual network. You can have other means of VPN connectivity. So it's really flexible. You can easily use it. Then on top of it, you have traffic manager, which is really beneficial when you have clients all over the world and you want to use your websites based on the location. So let's say your user types contoso.com, but he is in France, so you want him to be directed to the French website, so it will direct him to French website. In summary, for the summary, as we saw earlier, we have on-premises, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. On-premise, you invest everything upfront. In infrastructure as a service, you can easily uh, shift, lift and shift your existing applications to infrastructure as a service without investing upfront. You can develop your new applications with platform as a service, and you can consume software as a services. You have here, I'm logged in with my own account, company account, and then I can switch to my own account just by clicking it, and I can go to my my own account. So you see, I am managing two default two accounts, one my own and one my from my company, and it has a concept of directory, so you can easily manage that. So you go here, you have default resources, then you can click all the services, and in all services you see general services, which are like whatever you use mostly, and in featured you see virtual machines, which you use a lot, app services, storage account, SQL database, Azure database for SQL server, SQL server, Azure Cosmos DB. It's really interesting to know about it actually. You see, create a globally distributed multi-model fully managed database using API of your choice. So it's globally available. You don't have to worry about if your customers are in Europe or US or in India. You have Kubernetes services to manage your containers. You have function apps for serverless computing. You have virtual networks to manage virtual machines. Then you have Azure Active Directory for the authentication and authorization thing, resource groups. So all your resources are grouped into, all your similar resources are grouped into one group, which is called resource group. Then you have monitor for Azure Monitor, which monitor all your activities and gives you best advice based on feedbacks. And then you have Azure Advisor for your security and cost advices. It's then you have Security Center and cost management. We cannot talk about all of them because it's a lot. It is around 9 to 10 hours, but I will just go one by one and give you some hints. Let's say if you go into compute, you have the concept of availability sets. So if you have like three or four virtual machines, more than two actually, or two more than one, sorry, more than one virtual machines, and you want your data to be um, highly available, and also if you want your redundancy to build the redundancy. Let's say if you have uh, data center which contains your virtual machines is down, uh, and then you lose or you lose your customer or you lose your data, your service is down, sorry, for that temporary period, then in that case availability set can't help you. But if you have like your specific server is down, so you can use another virtual machine server, and it can redirect your traffic to that virtual machine, so you can use availability sets for that purpose. You have other services like app services, which are really good for apps and web APIs. You have networking for all the virtual networks, and to manage them, you have application gateways and virtual network gateways. You have express route for specific or faster connection between your on-premises data center to virtual network, virtual machine or virtual network in cloud, which is really useful when you have on-premise special data which you don't want to share with other companies, and sorry, not other companies, but you want to secure it and fast transactions, so you can use express route circuits. Storage, you have different types of storage in Azure, and every storage service is specific. You use what you really need. So then you have web, which is app services, which we already discussed. You have other things as well. Yeah, it's really huge. Containers, databases. You have the different types of databases I already discussed. You have Azure Cosmos DB, Azure SQL databases. They all mean something different, and they are really specific sometimes. So let's say SQL data warehouse and Azure SQL database, and they both are really different in depending on your use. Then you have analytic services which you can just use drag and drop using drag and drop. But also if you want to use simple, let's say like SD Insight, which we already saw, but Azure Databricks, you have data factories, data lake analytics, you have everything you need actually. You have machine learning studio, which machine learning studio is drag and drop developing machine learning models. Uh, then you have IoT things, IoT Internet of Things. To manage IoT devices, you have IoT Central, which is used to connect all the IoT devices. You have IoT Hub to process millions of IoT devices at the same time. Mixed reality integration, identity, I said Azure Active Directory, but you also have Azure Active Directory B2C, Azure Active Directory domain services, groups, users. It's really huge. Security is really important in Azure, and you have for that you have key vaults, application gateways, Azure information protection, Azure virtual network gateways, Azure Active Directory. I already discussed Active Directory, but key vaults are basically to store your um, certifications, to store your key strings. Let's say you use something in your application, but you don't want to put them in config files. So for that, you simply need to put them in key vaults, and you can have a secure access to key vaults. You also have virtual network gateways, which you can configure to allow the access to your virtual networks. You have Azure Information Protection, which is it detects automatically your information if it needs to be encrypted. Let's say you have credit card information, you cannot put credit cards directly in your in your file or somewhere. You have to encrypt it, so it's really good service for that. You have DevOps for continuous integration and deployment. You can use Azure DevOps. For that, you also have application insight to migrate your database from from on-premises to Azure. You have Azure Database Migration Services. You have Azure, other things like Azure Migrate, Databox, Azure Stack. So, in short, you get many things with Azure, and it's really beneficial really need if you really need this thing actually. So thank you for your time and see you in the next video. I hope you had good overview of Azure. I cannot really cover all the products, but I just simply went through the through different offerings. In short, if you just say Azure is having um, 95% of the market. Azure is so within other cloud providers, Azure is has captured 95% of the market. That's why it's really good. I will discuss one by one all the service offerings in Azure, but also I will go through the certifications in the next videos. Thanks for watching this video and see you next time.